All right, YouTube, this Detroit's HPTV coming to you out of Detroit, back with another video. Man, we got to talk about this Democratic Party. They the gift that keeps on giving. They in full meltdown and disarray. And it's really sad because we know in our community there is a great mental health issue in our community. But when you see the mental health issues that are going on within the so-called leadership realms, it's no different than in your community, because you're going to see narcissists, people that are delusional. They got Jolanda Jones. She said that the redistricting in Texas for the vote and voting blocks is equivalent to the Holocaust. She said it's the Holocaust. These Democrats been gaslighting you and fear-mongering you to such a degree, it's insulting. She saying that voting on a bill of redistricting, which is gerrymandering, is the equivalent of the Holocaust. And all these Texas Democrats, even Al Green, their constituents and their base are struggling, suffering, while they out in front of the world fighting in behalf of illegal immigrants and every other ism that they can think about. And people don't even address it. Y'all let it go by unchecked. People even get in my comments and be like, oh, you think Donald Trump is a god or something? I was like, no. That's what y'all think over there on the left. We think that Donald Trump is good at negotiating. We like the way he do business. We don't care about his likes and his dislikes. If he was to get in trouble or get caught up in the Epstein files, wouldn't y'all prosecute him? Y'all found him guilty of 34 felonies, and the people still voted him in. What does that tell you? Oh, that tells you that all Americans is low IQ or something. That's what they tell you on the left. It tells you we'd rather deal with somebody who's genuine and authentic and does what the hell he say he's going to do. That's why he won. All the fear-mongering and the sky is falling, that's not a good marketing strategy. These Texas Democrats actually left Texas and went to hotels in Chicago and in New York and other places. Free room, food, champagne, party, while they just sit there and avoid the inevitable and spew propaganda to their base, making their base think that you could just not go to work if you don't agree with your boss. Just don't go to work. Go to a whole nother city and state. Their constituents know that ain't even real life. Their boss will fire them and replace them. And they can figure out another way to pay their bills. But we like identity politics. You know, we don't get off into critical thinking skills. Even with people on the reparations movement, who y'all think y'all will have a better deal with negotiating reparations if you had a good plan, a good perspective, a good blueprint of how it would be utilized? Who you think would invest in that? The liberals or the conservatives? If you had a good plan that was going to generate money and be in America, who you think you have a better chance of negotiating with? The liberals or the conservatives? A lot of y'all are lying, say, oh, they don't want to do, conservatives, and the Republican Party don't want to help black people. Abraham Lincoln was the leader of the Republican Party. It was the Republicans that fought the Democrats that ended slavery. And then after that, it was the Democrats that created Jim Crow, redlining, and the Ku Klux Klan. and said that they will have you Negroes voting for them for the next 200 years. And their whole policy now is Trump bad, Trump bad. No legislation. They ain't doing nothing about the crime in their own cities. But this lady gonna say that redistricting is equivalent to the Holocaust. Now I'm gonna do a reaction to Melanie King's video. She got a good breakdown of everything. It's for fair use under the 1976 Copyright Act for education and commentary. Check out this. Shout out to Melanie King.
Do you want the federal government and the FBI to help locate and arrest these Texas Democrats who have left the state?
If you don't show up to work, you get fired. Governor Abbott is now suing those Democrats who fled the state to try to block the vote.
So let me get this straight. Texas redraws a few congressional lines and Democrats start comparing it to the Holocaust? Like, you honestly cannot make this up. The political tantrum has reached such absurd levels that even basic redistricting is now being labeled as genocide. Well, welcome to day 3 of the Democrat meltdown mode, where every legal move by Texas is met with over-the-top hysteria, doomsday claims, and now Holocaust comparisons. Yes, you heard that right. A state lawmaker actually went there today. So we've got to break down this outrage, the insanity, and the jaw-dropping reactions that prove once again the left has officially lost the plot. Let's dive in.
Texas Republicans are taking on the lawlessness of Texas Democrats on the run. The GOP is ready to vote on redrawing the state's congressional map. Governor Abbott is now suing.
Look how they even frame themselves. They're on the run. Democratic leadership is on the run. Because what? They don't want to vote on a legal bill. The argument's not strong enough. So they're going to run. Is this a publicity stunt? Are we being punked? Is Ashton Kutcher going to jump out on the whole world and say, we being punked?
Those Democrats who fled the state to try to block the vote. He says they abandoned their office and the people who voted for them. And developing now the Democrat plan to stay out of Texas until Republicans kill the plan to redistrict. So are they moving out forever? I'm Harris Faulkner. This is the Faulkner Focus. Now a look at the list of those Democrats who were no-shows for Tuesday's House session. It's long, 54 names, including the caucus chair, Jean Wu. Governor Abbott filed an emergency petition yesterday to remove Wu from his position. He calls him the ringleader of the derelict Democrats. Texas Attorney General Ken Paxton was with me, as you know, yesterday, and he has an ultimatum. Starting this Friday, any rogue lawmakers refusing to return to the House will be held accountable for vacating their office. If you don't show up to work, you get fired. AG Paxton, again in focus yesterday.
All right, so this brings me to the next clip I need you to see. And yes, it features none other than Representative Jasmine Crockett, your favorite, okay? Now, before you roll your eyes, I get it. We already know what to expect from her. Unfiltered immaturity, performative outrage, and a complete lack of strategic depth. But I'm not showing you this, this clip to mock her, though it is tempting. I'm showing it to prove a point. Let's contrast the two sides of the aisle here. If you take an honest look at the behavior of the Republicans, especially during the first 6 months of Trump's presidency, of his administration right now, you'll notice something that rarely gets acknowledged. Their approach was calculated. It was measured. It was strategic. Was Congress perfect during this time? No. I've got my own share of criticisms to give, and I'll always call out dysfunction where I see it, especially in our government, because I don't trust the government as a whole. But even with that said, there was a clear logic to the Republican messaging. There was a structure, a focus on results, law, order, and accountability. Now let's flip the script, right? When you watch Democrats, especially in this current climate, it's like tuning into a high school drama club. Emotions always maxed out. Every issue is the end of democracy. Every vote is a threat to marginalized communities. And every conservative policy, well, according to them, it's practically a human rights crisis. They cry Armageddon, scream racism, throw tantrums on the House floor, and somehow never manage to offer a single practical, coherent, or common sense driven plan in return. It's all about vibes and feelings. The
way Melanie just broke that down is what I was trying to say. They count on making you emotional so that you don't be a critical thinker. Why would they go to Chicago and New York to duck voting on a bill they got to come back to their job to anyway? It's slow. That's not smart. You got to come back anyway. That's your job. And if you don't come back, then they fire you and remove you from your seats. And then they get what they really want. If your theory of foul play is genuine, your fears of that, so you're going to just vacate your seat and give it to the people that you say, that you fighting against? That sounds like surrender to me.
theatrics. It's all about the outrage. And nothing illustrates that better than this next clip. Jasmine Crockett, once again, takes the low road. Not only does she insult Trump supporters, but she goes out of her way to take aim at Black Americans, me, who dare to think differently. The level of disrespect is astounding. The condescension off the charts. And the worst part, she says it all with a smugness that tells you she thinks she's above the very people she claims to represent. Let me show you exactly what I mean. Take a look at this one.
I want people to see him and understand who he is. This is a person that has a problem with people of color, period. I don't care how many Black MAGA out there with their hats. I want to be clear, when we look at who it is that he's kicking out of this country is people of color. When we look at who he always disrespects and says that they are low IQ, even though when you look at his cabinet, this has to be the most incompetent cabinet we have ever had in the history of this country. When we're talking about people that live.
Now, I'm going to ask you honestly, even if you on the left, do you think Tulsi Gabbard, J.D. Vance, Pam Bondi, Patel, Trump, do y'all really think they incompetent? I know you don't, you may not like them, but do you really think that from where they sit right now, that they are the incompetent ones?
Surely have the ability to drop bombs or order that bombs be dropped or make recommendations that bombs be dropped, and they literally don't know how to get the signal chat right. So we're talking about low IQ individuals, but so long as they say that this guy is their guy, and usually if they work for a certain news network, that's the only qualification that's necessary. I've got news for the president. I am not going anywhere. No matter how many squiggly lines they draw in the state of Texas, I will be back and I will be on his behind and making sure the real accountability that the American people are demanding, whether they're Democrats, Republicans, or independents, that it is had when the Democrats take control of this House in the midterm.
How do you even begin to engage with someone as immature and unserious as Jasmine Crockett? Like, tell me. I think it's simple. You just don't. I think that's why
She's very immature and unserious. And guess what? She's talking about fighting. Wow. Aren't they on the run?
blocked me on X. There is no point in dignifying that level of political theater with a real debate. But what I will do, as always, is lay out exactly what all sides are saying, so you can see the circus for yourself. Now, she's still out here throwing around buzzwords like people of color, as if that's a magical shield from accountability. That's where she loses me. And then she had the audacity to claim that she's going to hold the president accountable. Really? Are you serious, ma'am? That's not happening, and we all know it. What would actually serve her and her voters long term is if she focused on passing meaningful legislation. But let's be honest. What has she actually accomplished? What bills has she introduced? What real solutions has she brought to the table for the people who put her in office? I'll wait. Democrats love to obsess over Trump like he's still like he's not going to be president for the next 4 years. They go into all this race baiting rhetoric and they have nothing left. No accomplishments, no legislative wins, just performative outrage. And now brace yourself because some of them are so unhinged. They're comparing what Texas Republicans are doing with redistricting to the Holocaust. Yes, the Holocaust. You just cannot make this up. It's atrocious.
We better have the courage to stand up. Otherwise, we will fall for anything. And in this country, we will be defeated, deported. I mean, we will lose all of our rights. And if you think it can't happen, it can. And I will liken this to the Holocaust. People are like, well, how did the Holocaust happen? How was somebody in a position to kill all them people? Well, good people remain silent. Or good people didn't realize that what happens to them can very soon happen to me or somebody I love.
Do you have 15,000, 20,000, even 30,000 in debt? That can be credit cards, personal loans, or medical bills.
Don Lemon just sat there like a stone. I thought he was asleep at first because his eyes were down for so long. Look, why do we need to even compare this to anything? Millions of people, Jews, died in the Holocaust. We know.
Okay, I want to do something. Y'all just seen Don Lemon and Yolanda Jones. Two black people, black man, black woman. Now you're going to see Faulkner and Hunt. Two black people in America. Tell me what is the contrast that you really see?
We're intellectual beings. We know. We're sentient. We know that this has nothing to do with that. It's whataboutism. They're desperate.
Well, bottom line is simply this. Making comparisons that have nothing to do with one another doesn't make it better. It makes it worse. Actually, people see through that. It's a veil. The truth of the matter is that they've lost their minds and they're losing their voters. As a result, they're looking for some way of holding on to the very little power they have. Think about what the Democrats have done to minority communities around the country. They have devastated minority communities. Why? They were more interested in the power than the progress of the very people they represent. That's why President Trump has this new working class coalition. Nearly 48% of Hispanic men voted for President Trump. 30+% of African-American men voted for President Trump. Over 50% of Native Americans voted for President Trump. That means redistricting, as you see these states full of more people, they're going to redraw those maps so as to maximize the opportunity of the new citizens who say, free at last, free at last. They want to experience it, and President Trump has delivered. The Democrats are scared to death.
Yeah, and the Democrats also realize that they can't keep people in their states.
No.
I mean, they're sanctuary states. They're harboring the worst of the illegal immigrants. And so, yeah, they can't. And so they just want to get mad at Republicans for taking them away, but they're not. People are fleeing just like they did, although it's legal when the citizens flee.
They're voting with their feet because their vote in those states just didn't matter.
Wow.
Do you want the federal government and the FBI to help locate and arrest these Texas Democrats who have left the state?
Well, I think they've abandoned the state. Nobody's seen anything like it, even though they've done it twice before. And in a certain way, it almost looks like they've abandoned the state. It looks very bad. Yeah, go ahead, please.
Should the FBI get involved? Should the FBI get involved?
Well, they may have to.
Here's what you absolutely need to understand right now, right out the gate. Across the country, 12 U.S. states currently have congressional district maps that are completely 100% Republican control. That means every line, every boundary, every district decision is made under Republican leadership. On the flip side, 8 states are fully controlled by Democrats when it comes to congressional maps. So this isn't a new or one-sided phenomenon. It's happening on both sides of the aisle. But here's where it gets interesting. Democrats are sounding the alarm, not because Republicans are doing something unprecedented, but because they're doing it successfully, unlike them.
I'm going to end on that note. Because if you even look at when they interviewed, when Trump's daughter-in-law interviewed Charlemagne, she interviewed Charlemagne and asked him, is there anything, basically, is there anything that you can give Trump his props on that he did good? Charlemagne said, I can't think of nothing. She said, but what about how he closed the border? Well, yeah, I agree with that. That needed to be done. Then she asked him about a few other things that he agreed with. that he had to admit that the man got done. But because of his Trump derangement, they in total denial of what's really going on. You got people following these Democrats that are on the run talking crazy. Y'all can't tell these people is talking crazy. She said the redistricting in Texas is equivalent to the Holocaust. Jasmine Crockett said, "Oh, I'm gonna be on his behind." That's sad. Leadership has totally lost it. They done totally lost their mind. They done forgot what the game is. You got Democrats that need to be voting in Texas, hiding out in Chicago and New York at the luxury hotels in front of their constituents. Is these your leaders? Well, this is Detroit's HPTV coming to you out of Detroit. Like and share the video. Subscribe, support the channel. As always, salute to all the patriots. Keep your head on a swivel. Peace.